Hello, everyone. You're welcome to the Women Lighthouse podcast. This is a community for purpose-driven women who desire to live their dreams and aspirations. Our mission is to inspire you to live your dreams one day at a time while serving as a beacon of hope and guidance. We will be addressing various issues related to womanhood. Join me as we explore our journey of life together. I am your host, Uyime Hamilton. Hello, ladies. You're welcome to another episode of the Women Lighthouse podcast. It's great to have you on the show today. Today, we're exploring crafting a will and last testament for women. We know that this is a very sensitive topic because naturally, when you start talking about creating a will, the natural instinct would be, why are you thinking of death? Are you praying to die anytime soon? But it's very important for us to know more about this topic because we need to secure the future of our loved ones and plan and prepare in the midst of any eventuality in the future. So today we have a legal professional here with us today who will be telling us about the importance of having a will and some of the misconceptions that comes with creating a will and some challenges that may be involved and legal considerations when crafting a last will and testament. Our guest is Barrister Hokaha Bassey, and she is a highly skilled legal professional with a strong academic and professional expertise in her field. And she's been practicing for over 15 years. Throughout her career, she has contributed to top-tier law firms and showcased her ability to handle complex legal matters and has provided valuable counsel to her clients. And she's here today to do that with us. So stay tuned as we explore this important topic and gain all the insights we need to make an informed decision when it comes to crafting a will and last testament. You're welcome, Barrister Hokaha. It's great to have you with us today. So I want to begin our conversation by asking you, do women actually have wills?
Of course, everybody is expected to have a will.
Okay.
But, because of I would say the African or Nigerian especially mindset when a woman dies, everything that she owned automatically reverts to either her spouse or her children. But you see, we never have issues with when the woman dies, but when the man dies, because as breadwinner, the people that will be fighting, to be, to maybe take his properties or whatever it is, will be a lot. Yeah. Because men have a lot more dependence than women, even though that reverse is now the case anyway. But I'm just saying that that's like the overall talk. The truth is, once you begin to acquire properties or acquire things, it is advisable that you begin to write your will. Nobody's saying you will die tomorrow. This conversation around wills, it's recently that a lot more people are embracing it. Because some people, you just tell them, oh, you have ABC property. Don't you think that you should write a will? They look at you like, God forbid, you're wishing me death. Do you understand? You're saying I must die. That is why. No, you can have will and you live for even 50 more years. And then as you acquire more properties, you add them. As you depose property, you have the time to remove them. You acquire more things, you add them. That's why. So for every will, you can have codicils. You can cancel a will and write a new one. You get.
Okay. Yeah.
So, let's say someone wrote a will like 10 years ago, and in the last 10 years, person has acquired an estate that has probably over 50 lands, buildings and all of that in maybe his name or his company name or something. He can add all of that to his will, to his new will. Can call his lawyers, you can do a lot. It's just what a will does basically is to help a woman or to help a person to dispose of their properties when they are not here.
When you
Like you
say properties, what do you mean by properties? Like landed properties or?
you can even write a will of how you want your clothes to be distributed if
Are
that's
you
what you have.
serious?
Yes, you
Wow.
have I mean women that we can like love to buy gold.
Yeah.
This is the way I want my gold. I have this gold worth probably 20 million naira. It should be given to ABC, you know. That's
Mm,
basically what a will does. It will just the most important reason for having a will is for beneficiaries or for people that are left behind upon the demise of anybody to know how
mm,
the person's intention of disposing their properties. That's basically their properties. It can be clothes, it can be furniture, it can be, of course, money in the bank, it can be whatever it is. Money is in the bank, now that people have more than one account.
mm,
Of course, properties, land, houses, whatever it is, it can be things like properties like, like cars, movables, immovables too, you know just how this is the way someone that has passed on intends for their properties, and by properties I mean everything property, to be disposed when they are not here. That's it. That's what the will helps you to do.
wow. So now having a will, how does it empower a woman? Does it empower a woman in any way?
So yeah, it's I would not say it empowers, but it just helps. Okay, maybe I should start from the beginning. The beginning is
Okay.
there are two things happen when someone passes on.
Okay.
One, either the person had written a will or the person had not written a will. One of those.
Okay.
Now, in the case where there was no will, in law, it is called the fact that the person has died intestate. That means with nothing, with no will.
Okay.
Usually, it behoves on the next of kin or whoever. You know how some people may just have filled somebody as their next of kin, but the
Mm,
person may not write a will, and then the person passes on. So it now behoves on whoever is that next of kin or anybody basically, to go ahead and begin to process what is now called letters of administration
okay.
now in the probate registry. So the probate registry is the part of the courts that takes care of everything testate and intestate. So someone dies testate means the person dies with a will written. So
Okay.
someone testate means the person dies without a will. Those are the two. Now, like I said, intestate, there's no will. So either the next of kin or any very close relative of the deceased would go ahead and begin to apply for what is called letters of intestate, maybe for the to share the person's properties, or some people just opt to share it customarily. So it depends on what the customs are. And we have some very funny customs in our country. Some people just think that it is, if a man dies, for instance, it is his brothers and his family that or his parents, if they are alive, that inherit all his properties. Of course, that's why the will is necessary, so that you can cover people that you really want to be covered when you are not here. For instance, your
Mm,
spouse, your wife, your children, and all of that. So now that is for dying intestate. So if there's no will, it's a lot more protocol. It's a lot more stuff to do. So they can go customarily. They can go by. I mean, if for instance, like someone that probably was in government, for instance, like I've helped to process some people. Like there was one I was doing recently. Someone that used to work in CBN without a will. He died.
okay.
So for those kind of places or those kind of people who died, but they were working in, sorry for all the noise, but they were working in like organizations that are very either government organizations or very well-established corporate bodies, they have a protocol, especially to assess probably death benefits, because of course,
Yeah.
very well in service, there are death benefits and all of that. That's for government. Now, most companies are beginning to implement that. So, if the person maybe has worked there for maybe a number of years, there are some benefits. So, the company would have their own, as it were, their own requirements for you to do or for you to bring before the will is, or the letters of administration is now processed, and the person, or that's the relative who is processing it, or the next of kin is now entitled to probably that money or whatever it is. So every other thing, usually for people that die intestate, some people just opt to share it customarily. Unfortunately, that's
Okay.
here in Nigeria. So that's that. So for now, wills. Now, like I said, wills can be, anybody can write a will. Anybody, whether man, whether woman, whether married, whether unmarried, doesn't matter, can write a will. So now, when you want to write a will, what comes to play? What are you supposed to do? It's not just saying, it's not just me sitting down, someone sitting down in their house or their room and saying, I wrote a will, oh, this paper is to show. No, that's not what constitutes a will. What is a will is, or what will give a will a legal effect, as it were, is number one, that document is written in the presence of a lawyer, a legal practitioner, who is usually the person that is usually asked to write the will. But also, there must be a doctor to certify that the
Okay.
person making this testament or making this will and testament is a sound mind. He's not being coerced or forced. He's doing it normally, like the person is great, the person is good, the person is not sick. Because we've had situations where people are sick, probably they are delusional, they don't
Hmm.
know what's going on, but somebody else is the person behind the process. So people must certify. So some people add pastors to it, or your clergy, depends on your religion and all of that. But basically, you must have a legal practitioner and you must have a doctor to certify that you are of sound mind when that will was being written. At that point, you were sound. You were not sick. You were not being forced. You were of sound mind. So if that is done, usually after the will is written and all the parties sign, that is the person that wrote the will and probably the lawyer, sometimes the medical doctor also signs, and then, okay, I'm going ahead of myself, but let me just say this. So in the
Yeah.
will, we have the people that we call the executors of a will. Then we also have the beneficiaries of the will. So the executors, for instance, somebody may just appoint. So, for instance, a friend of mine can appoint me to say, okay, I'll come and be my executor of my will. That means it is my job in the place, in case of that my friend's death. It is my job to make sure that every beneficiary, every person who was named in that will gets what is due him or her. Do you get?
Yeah.
Executor. So usually when you're writing a will, you're supposed to name your executors. Usually some people name two executors, three, depends on how. So, just in case, because nobody knows who's going to die first. You get? So people just name them like that. And then sometimes you can even name someone that is young. You know how it is. Young people, some young people die more before older people. So that's usually it. So the executors are named. Then the beneficiaries, of course, are the people that benefit from the will. Executors are just probably paid as per for the inconvenience when the will is being executed. So just like the word an executor, they are the ones that ensure that everything that was written in the will is done. Of course, they are also the ones that would stand in case. So some people, okay, so let me say this. Wills can be contested. So that means that, for instance, in polygamous homes, when a man writes a will, another child can come out and say, no, that's not what my father said. That's not what he told me. And they can go to courts. We have probate courts. We have the probate registry. That's the registry that's in charge of everything that has to do with will, letter of administration, everything. Everything probate is called everything afterlife, like everything that has to do with somebody's distribution of his estate. So the estate of a person is just called estate in law, but basically it is actually everything about the person, the person's properties, the person's money. So someone can just say, oh, I'm the executor of ABC's estate. That means I'm the one that makes sure that everything that this person has written down in his will comes to fruition. A will can be contested. So somebody else can come and say, oh, no, that's not what my father, for instance, said. Oh, that's not what he told me. This will was someone can come and say that the will was doctored. Someone can come there, so they can go to courts. So who represents, the deceased, the person that wrote the will at this point is no longer there. So it is usually the executors that go to courts on the behalf of the estate of the deceased. Do you get? So all to that point. So that's it. So like I was saying, anyone can write a will. Anyone can do a will as long as you begin to acquire stuff. Anybody. Just get these two things in place, or these two persons, people have, and of course you must be using a legal practitioner that you trust wholeheartedly, someone that you know will not go and tell all your beneficiaries, come and see you, your father left you 1 million naira or $1 million, So usually after the will is written, the legal practitioner is supposed to deposit it in either the probate registry, or can even deposit it in multiple places. You can go, the legal practitioner that writes a will can deposit it at either the probate registry. You can go to the bank and deposit it in a safe. It has to have at least 2 to 3 copies distributed around. Do you get, to show that this is what the deceased person wanted? So that when the eventualities happen and those wills are, or those copies are presented, they are all the same. So that in case of any emergencies, nobody can say, oh, this will was doctored, because you'll see the same thing you can put it in 5 places if you want. You can, the now deceased may have instructed his lawyer to, oh, please keep this A, B, C, D, E, and only you know. So just, it has to be someone that the person trusts, and someone that has been in the person's space for a long time. Usually, people that write wills are basically based on trust, because it's a very sensitive topic. So whoever is writing a will for someone must be the legal practitioner must be a very well trusted human being to the person. Okay.
So if I want to write a will now, for instance, can any legal practitioner write it, or is there a specific type of legal practitioner that is responsible for writing wills?
So once you're in practice and you have, you know what to do. So we have, okay, so like in Nigeria, we are just beginning to have specific areas of specialization in law. Prior to now, everybody was doing everything, you get. So usually, I would advise that it has to be someone that has done it over and over, or knows what to do. So of course, it has to be somebody that has been in practice, who knows what to do. So family law, basically, lawyers that handle most family matters. Wills and estates, or wills and testaments, and everything about probate usually is categorized most times under family law. You get.
Okay, then what of like cost implication? Is it very expensive to write a will?
Of course, cost implications most times always depend on the estates, like the properties. I mean, if you come to me and you have only one land and you want to write will for that one land, I will charge you based on probably a percentage of how much you bought the land to write it up. It might be a very small percent. So it's not basically it's something that can be agreed upon. Let me just put it that way. Between the testator and the legal practitioner. So let me also say this, that most testators, or most people, when they are writing wills, the legal practitioner is also an executor of the will. you can have that kind of arrangement. So, like I said, the executors of the will are usually paid from the estate when the person is deceased.
Okay.
So, yeah, anybody, and then the person must be a legal practitioner, and then cost implication just depends on, I would say, everything that is intended to be shared, and of course, it can come by way of agreement between the parties.
Okay, so you've explained the whole process and why it's important for women to have a will. So can you just share with us, based on your practice, what are some of the myths or misconceptions that people have when it comes to women having a will?
Okay, so some people just think that women are not supposed to have will. That's funny. As per, particularly married women, they're like, oh, all that you own belong to your husband or your children and all of that. Well, those are just myths. Like, many women now are becoming more enlightened. Many, even people that are married, many people are buying stuff in their name these days. So, as long as, well, it just depends on your family dynamic, really, your family dynamics. So, I mean, if, for instance, I am married now and I have my own properties, okay, I'm just giving an instance, so that I am married. Of course, we have some properties, my husband and I, because what my own family dynamics is that we'll be buying properties together. That's what we agreed. So
Okay.
it has to put our names and everything, and then of course, whoever it is to be put as next of kin is going to be our children, which is what we have both agreed. But of course, people run their families differently. So what works for me may not be what's working for you. So it's just based on your family dynamics. There are a lot of myths and all of that. So these days, when I'm feeling next of kin form, before I had children, I used to use my husband. But now I have children, I actually use my son as
Okay.
next of kin, maybe when filling any form online and all of that. I still use my husband, so I just interchange between two of them. And same with
Okay.
him. He interchanges between me and my son. Because by the time you get married, like I said, it's based on your family dynamics. So all those myths that women are not supposed to have will, like I said, if your family dynamic is such that you can buy properties in your own name and you can do stuff in your own name, of course, I would advise that you go ahead and write a will and protect particularly your children. But if you have children, or if you're a single woman and you think, because that's the other myth, there's this other myth that no, single ladies should not show off so much. Why are they buying so many properties? Why are they writing will? No, I mean, as a single woman, there might be things that your family members, like your mom or your siblings, that you want to benefit, may not know that you have acquired. That's why a will is important. I remember speaking with a senior friend who lost her sister, who was single. Her sister was working in a very lucrative organization in Lagos. In fact, I remember her telling me that she didn't even know a lot of what her sister had acquired until her sister died. So what her sister did was to name her. She's her younger sister, but you know how life goes. So this is her elder sister I was speaking with. So this deceased lady named her elder sister as the everything, and her elder sister's children. She unfortunately did not have children. So she
Mm.
named her elder sister's children as her children. That in fact she did a lot for her elder sister and their siblings. I mean, up to giving them clothes, everything, even the money that came from her office where she was working up until she died was shared according to how she wanted, you know. So that's it. So those myths of single people should not have right will, married women should not, all those things are just myths. As long as you've begun to acquire properties in your name, please write a will. I've I've been doing a lot of family related stuff, and I know many times that some women are just afraid. If I'm not here, my husband may not take care of. You understand? So just your family dynamics just is what should play in what should come to you. or what you would do or what you should do.
So what of those scenarios where, like you mentioned, they are like joint ownership of properties? How do you now handle that?
Well, when there's so honestly, even me talking to you, and the fact that we are my husband and I are buying properties together in both our names. I mean, nobody's nobody knows who is going first. That's the truth. So of course, in this situation, because we have joint ownership, if either of us goes first, the other person still has ownership of the property till the person leaves. Do you get?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. So there's no, I mean, God forbid anything happens, and maybe my husband's siblings. I'm just saying, just a totally out of the blue scenario that probably maybe his parents can come home, leave this house. It belongs to our son. No, my name is on it. Do you understand? My name is also on it. It's also mine. I'm not saying that those kind of things will happen, God forbid, but I'm just giving an instance. So, but the good thing with joint ownership is the fact that two of you may likely not depart at the same time. So when one person leaves, the other person still has full ownership over the properties till much later when the person leaves, when it is the person's turn to go.
Okay. So when it comes to executing a will, what are some of the potential challenges that women may encounter when it comes to that, and how do you think these challenges can be addressed?
Ah, that's a long one. Okay, let me try. So for women, let me say this, that women are usually at the receiving end of a lot. That's my opening statement. We are at the receiving end of a lot, a whole lot. So I mean, we've had instances and cases where the men are polygamous and the women do not know. Their wives in the house do not know. So they have this surprise comes upon them at, maybe for instance, their husband's burial, another family shows up. And the man that wrought the deed has gone. Meanwhile, he knows that he had a family extra. So the woman is taking that's the official wife of the deceased person, is taken aback. Is taken by surprise and by everything, like called shock, to see that there's another family and this man has written a will, maybe probably willing more than half of what the both of them have worked towards, to probably the other woman bore him sons. You know how what we see in Nigerian movies is not far from what happens, particularly in this kind of scenarios. So
Hmm.
that is those are the major that's one very major challenge that women face. So that's why I said earlier that your family dynamic is very important. You need to know what's going on with your husband. Does he have another child outside? He may not keep the woman, but is there another child? Is there someone else? Do you get? You need to know. I mean, the only way to solve this problem is just by effective communication and by being sincere. I know
Okay.
that men have this thing of, oh, you don't tell your wife everything. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. In fact, I am saying tell your wife everything because at the end of the day, she's your wife. And if you're a believer, you should know that that is what the Lord has instructed us to be open and naked and unashamed. But unfortunately, we don't have a lot of men who believe. Some men will even prefer to confide in their siblings more than their wives. In fact, I've encountered a lot. I was even told a story by a very close friend of mine about about a man who passed on, but before he passed on, he had been ill. So I think his wife had an incline, that thing of how somebody has been sick for a while and you just like, this thing may not end the way we are hoping it will. You get? And
Yeah.
so I think the woman too was, I don't know, I don't want to call her smart. I will call her street smart, basically. Because what she did was, because I'm sure she knew the family she was married into. Like that's why I said your family dynamics is very important. So what she did was that when she saw how things were going, she started. They had a lot of cars. They had about 5 very luxurious. When they were living big, she started moving the cars one by one. Yes, before the man
Moving to
passed.
where?
Moving. What do you think I'm saying? She started taking the cars out, like she started moving the cars out of their home. You get
Okay.
left only one. She probably went to go, meet people. She could go park the car in someone that she trusts now. Oh, please help me. Let this car just park here. Those kind of things. And then she also moved all the important documents. So she knew
Okay.
where her husband kept all that's why I said openness, sincerity, you cannot over emphasize it. And then she moved all that. And then after it was less than how many days after she moved those things that the man gave up. Immediately the man died. His brothers came to the house to look for all the cars and the papers. Immediately, less than an hour after. So imagine, and she has children. She had small younger children that were like four children. So of course, it's not what I would advise, but if the man had been open enough to his wife and said, "Oh, see you, I told my brother this," because all the brothers that came, I think they said 2 of his brothers came from the story I was told. They knew exactly what they were looking for. That means their brother had told them. Do you get? So I
Yeah.
think let's stop that kind of this thing. Openness, sincerity between couples. If there's another family outside, I think it is right that you tell your spouse. I think it is just right that you tell. So that is one of in fact, this is the major challenge. Because, and then polygamy has a way of, so sometimes the people know that there's another family, or the women know, or the wives, they know that there's another family. And then sometimes, unfortunately, even where there's a will, for instance, and the man has, appropriately distributed his properties, or to maybe the other woman's children, the other woman may go to instigate her children to come and contest the will so they can claim it all. Polygamy is not something that, is a very sweet thing. For some of us that have experienced a bite or a part of it, is not is not a is not something that you would even advise your enemy to go into. Even the Islamic religion that permits polygamy, as long as you can take care of them. I know most Muslims that only have one wife because it is a lot.
Yeah.
So one of the other problems that women may encounter in this kind of situation is also the fact that even where there is polygamy or another family or other children, they may just, come up and instigate and contest the will. And it may just drag on because contesting a will is like a court case. You know how it may take time, it may
Yeah.
take process. For no reason. Do you get? So
Yes.
that's it. So that's why most men prefer not to write wills. But particularly the men that have, like we like to call them, away matches. Like they have a family, but they have another family with
Mhm.
children. Yet most of them don't like to write
Yeah.
wills because they know somehow. Okay, let me even give my dad's example. I have a stepbrother. I used to have a stepmom, but she's late now. But I have a stepbrother. So of course my parents married customarily because um my dad had returned bride price of my stepmom before he married my mom, but only customary marriage. And so I remember that my former boss, who just passed on this year, may God rest his soul, he was like a very close, it was like he used to save my dad. He was very close to my dad, and he's a lawyer. He was in fact, when he passed on, he was a judge. He had been made a judge. He had been in law practice for over 21 years and all that. He was my first boss when I was called to bar. I remember he told me after my NYC, he told me himself. He said to me that he met my dad when my dad was in the hospital and told my dad that my father should write a will because he knew our family dynamics. And my dad told him no. I was so pissed when I heard that because it's only me that can tell you the stress we've come through. Even when we were trying to get my father's monies from the bank, then I was quite a young lawyer. My father passed on when I was in law school, so I didn't even know a lot of intricacies like I know now, you know. But with the little I knew then, it was a lot. I mean, the whole drama, it took us almost 2 years to access my father's money in the bank because, of course, we had to. My mom has one son, my stepbrother, so two of them now had to come together and be the administrators of my father's estate. And of course, you know how that can turn out to be. So I realized that a lot of men just they don't like it. They don't want it. I mean, the story of the late chief, I think it's Gani Fawemi, who was also a lawyer, a very well-known lawyer. Do you know that he died without a will? Or was there a will? I know that there was a very huge contest on his properties. I think there was a will. Yes, I think there was a will, but it was heavily contested because the children were from different women. So that's one of the major issues that happens. And unfortunately, like I said, women are always at the receiving end because your husband, God forbid, I mean, a man goes to go and do his thing, he doesn't tell you, you don't know. I mean, the worst is not even knowing. I think it's even better that you know than to be surprised during a burial to see another family. You know, so that's the major challenges that women face. Then of course the challenge that I mean that the will can be contested in court because of polygamy
Yeah.
and other methods.
Yeah.
It's just safer that it is one. And unfortunately, even with the whole one woman, one man thing, we've seen children fight over will, children or
Yes.
parents. So,
Mm.
like I said, it all boils down to your family dynamics.
Yeah.
Children have fought over wills from the same father and mother. Yeah, this person has come up with his camp and that person. So, and all of these, the women are always the ones at the receiving end. Nobody really contests if a woman's will. I've not really heard that. I don't know whether it has happened in recent times, except
Okay.
maybe someone that's like Dangote, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure because if a woman predeceases a man, it is just
Mm.
automatically assumed that the husband takes charge, but it doesn't happen for the women, unfortunately. It doesn't.
Okay. So now, if with all these challenges I've observed, I decide, okay, maybe I don't want to have a will to avoid these challenges, are there
Yes,
other recommendations or
yes.
alternatives that one could have?
Some people have begun to dispose of their assets before passing on. So there's what we call a deed of gift. So I can gift you in my lifetime what I want you to have when I'm gone. It can be given to you in the person's.
Okay.
If someone is doing a deed of gift to me, two of us have signed in the person's lifetime, but there can be some clauses in the deed to say that this gift will take effect.
Okay.
You understand? But some people
Yeah.
don't outrightly gift you and they have disposed of the property while they're still alive. And they may live for another 10 years or 20 or 50.
Mm.
But just to avoid those challenges, particularly
Mm.
for people that have children from multiple partners.
Okay.
That's what most of them have begun to do. Like I said, I have someone really close to me who is doing that. He's battling a terminal disease. So I think he knows that it is time. His time is closer. So he's beginning to do that. In fact, he has already done a couple I'm aware of. You get so people do it now, and he's still alive. So we're not praying that he dies, but I mean, even if he goes, there will be no fight because everybody has gotten their gift. So,
Okay. So, what are your final words to women out there with regards to having a last will and testament?
okay, so like I said at the beginning, I'll just say this again that every woman, as long as you've begun to acquire properties in your name, cars, property, lands, houses, try to write a will, especially if you have children. It's usually advisable so that you can just protect the future of your children. And then also, like I said, dependent on your family dynamics. I mean, while we don't pray that anything bad happens now, that we all live good, ripe, old, long ages. In the situation, where you have joint ownership with either your spouse or most of the times your spouse, you can still get the will done. In the situation where either spouse leaves, before the other person, so that the people that need to benefit from those properties are not unfairly taken out of benefiting it. So my parting words is, please don't let the myths of, oh, you're not supposed to write a will, and I even also speak to men, really. Please don't think that writing a will means that you are dying tomorrow. No. It just means that you are concerned about how things would go in the situation that you are not available. That's it.
Oh, thank you so much, Barrister Hokaha. It's really been great learning from you and acquiring a lot of knowledge with regards to crafting a last will and testament. Crafting a last will and last testament is very crucial from what we've all learned today to create the future we desire and ensure that our wishes are met in our demise. But remember that this is just one option of the other options available, which we would also explore in subsequent episodes. The essence of today's conversation is to provide you with all the needed information to make an informed decision. It's never too early or too late to start thinking about a will. So today, I charge and encourage you to take that step that you need in making a decision and seek legal counsel that will guide you through how you can create a will in order to ensure that you secure the future of your loved ones in your demise. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Women Lighthouse podcast. I hope you were inspired to keep taking steps towards living out your dreams. If you enjoyed this episode, we encourage you to share it with other women and leave us a review on our social media platform, which is in the description box. Also, feel free to subscribe to our channel to get notified of new episodes. Till I come your way on our next episode, keep living, keep dreaming. Bye for now.